Good evening, everyone. How are we today?
Hi, chat. Hi, Rio. Hi, peepers. Hi, Hanayama-san.
I'm so impressed. It took me forever to learn how to actually pronounce that, and you just rattled that off like right in one shot with no problem at all.
I'm kind of a weeb. It's fine. I'm used to it.
I know, man. Keepers is like a really hard name to pronounce. I don't know how you got that one.
Hello again, Max.
Hello, hello. All right, so a bit of an odd show tonight. We're going to be doubling up on episodes for this week and then probably one other week, though I don't know when that's going to be yet. This Kilo's just built different.
Like wrong,
Well,
I think.
well, I mean, you have hollow bones, so what do they expect?
True.
Hey, Legatus. So this may be Eraser's last show because the real life and work and all those, adulting things suck. But he will still be hanging out with us in the chat. Jacob, I'm not sure if he is here or not. He's here in spirit, but I'm not sure he's here in voice yet. Darnell may be jumping in later, but apparently, children exist and like to mess up our lives completely. And Jill is absent because she double scheduled herself. So it's going to be a little bit of a hodgepodge. I know. I mean, he's sort of an adult. He's like at the halfway point.
I mean, I'm old enough to drink, so that's all that matters.
Well, that's the last important birthday before you retire.
I feel like everyone on this panel was born old enough to drink. But yeah, speed run to get through 2 episodes today and not stay up literally all night, hopefully. Wish us luck, chat.
Yes. So we're just going to clear this out of the way right now. Eraserhead hates shaky cam. He has editing issues, and he's not allowed to rant for a half an hour about things that happened in episode 2 that he's already ranted about. So if we go by those 3 things, we should get through this in no time.
The shaky cam does suck real hard, though.
I mean, listen, man, on the bright side, all the streams going forward will be like half the length because I won't be bitching about shaky cam.
There we go.
Yeah, I literally put this out on Twitter as come get a double dose of Eraserhead bitching about the shaky cam.
Also, hello Rachel and hello Legatus Legionis.
Drinks are ready, sake is warm. I mean, sake is a drink, so that seems like you're repeating yourself.
Well, there's other drinks that are not sake that are not warm.
This is true. It just seems interesting to mention sakes. What I want to know is, what is the other drink?
I don't know, plum wine? Plum wine's good.
There's
I have never term, but I have
never had plum wine. It's interesting. I'll have to
Pretty
try that
good.
sometime. Evening, Rachel. Welcome. Whose sleep schedule are you cursing?
Yes.
Yeah, everyone. We need more Eraserhead rant. No. Eraserhead rants are hysterical. They're wonderful. They don't involve World War I most of the time. But people do tend to Sakura iced tea. Ooh, that sounds delicious. 4 hours for 2 episodes seems like a bit much. So we are going to go off and running quickly today.
I can't wait to pull a Sammy halfway through this episode and just ruin
Just
everything.
realize you've missed an important detail, like horrendously.
Wait, he's in a time loop?
Wait a second. It says day 2 on the subtitle. This is episode 7.
Checkmate.
Wait, what? This is a time loop?
Oh, Sammy, we miss you.
We do.
So
at least it's not a repeat of World War One.
Yeah, that we were just discussing that. So we start with Brett looking at himself in the mirror. He seems to be letting himself go a little bit. He continues to stare at himself in the mirror when she's trying to like give him some loving here. She asks if he's trying to grow a beard. He says, mate, he says, I guess I just haven't shaved lately. She's like, I thought you just shaved it yesterday. She thinks he's upset. Oh, and she finally noticed the mark.
Yes.
She says, what happened here? I mentioned last time, I was like, why has she not noticed he has a scar on his chest?
She didn't notice
Why
all
does-
the blood, but she notices the scar.
Has Brett always had this, like, lug nut necklace? I've literally just noticed this.
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, I could be wrong. He flashes back to, getting shot. She doesn't understand why he's suddenly in such a bad mood. And he's in a very bad mood. This is probably the grumpiest. Yeah, she's not that bright. I think we've. Yeah, Rachel, let me tell you something. She just gets worse.
She's batting average for the rest of the show, though.
No, I went through and I just binge watched the rest of the series again. Because there was some stuff I was trying to remember. And oh my god, I forgot how much I hate her by the end of the show.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you spend this whole time like, and this is one of the things I do like, is that, there are characters you hate that you start to like, and then you hate them again, and there are characters that you like that then you're just kind of like eye-rolling at, and then you hate them, and then there are characters that seem really bitchy, and like...
then there's Chad.
And then there's characters you want more of, but you don't get very much of.
Oh, who's the character you want more of?
Oh, the guy, his dad's partner.
Oh,
in the next
yeah.
episode.
Uncle Nick?
We'll get to it.
Yeah.
There will be more Uncle Nick.
Okay.
So he gets frustrated. He's having more flashbacks to past things. He basically explains to her that he's been working on this case that's been very frustrating. And he thought he found the bad guy, but then he found out he just works for another bad guy who's even worse, and he doesn't know anything about him, and now he feels like he has to start all over again, and he's feeling really stuck. And he's trying to explain to her that it's not her that he's feeling stuck with, but she's just decided that that's what he meant when he said, I feel stuck about everything. And so now she's all pissy.
You know the concept of an idiot plot, where the plot only happens because the characters don't talk to each other like normal human beings?
Well, except that he is talking to her.
Well, yeah.
And remember the first episode, I mentioned that one of the things I really liked about the show was that they started out, like, she started out communicating really well when she was upset about something, and, he communicated, like, when he knew he was wrong, But in this case, his words are communicating he's not mad at her, but his tone is still pretty ugly.
I think it's more annoying me that whenever he's explaining something related to the time loop, she misunderstands in just the right way to give him a path forward.
Well, except that in this case, she doesn't. She just storms off.
Well, I think, not to get ahead, but I think in the next loop, her reaction is a little more justified, but here, like, Brett is trying to communicate, and she does kind of just take it as if everything he's saying is about her. Here, it's... I don't know, I have a bit of an issue with it here, but like I said, I think in the next loop, it's actually justifiable.
Her reaction here is like, she's normally very supportive and tries to help him work through things, If that makes sense.
She does, but, like, again, having gone through and watched the rest of it, like, looking back, you can really see how she reacts to almost everything is actually incredibly self-centered.
Well, I mean...
And there's the next few episodes, there's a whole lot of her really assuming that everything is about her. And this is really, I had forgotten, this is really where my opinion of her really kind of starts to sink.
Yeah, it's a bit frustrating here because one of our biggest complaints is that Brett is not good at communicating things. He keeps everything to himself, even, if it's harming him. And it seems like he finally opens up and she just gets angry and storms off into the bathroom. And the scene just ends, and I don't know, like it feels a bit manufactured here, where it is what it
Well,
is.
I thought, I keep making this joke about have you ever met women? And there's a scene coming up, not a spoiler, but I think it's very perfect about her attitude towards things. During one turn, he explains to her that he's being framed for murder. And she gets mad at him and says, like, you should have told me about this. Like, love is about being able to tell people anything. And we immediately flip to the next morning, and she's storming out of the bathroom screaming, why are you telling me this? Like, how can you just tell me this? And he's like, but I thought I could tell you anything. um, and I really think, not to bash my own gender, but I think that especially for a certain type of woman, it's a lose-lose situation. They're mad if they find stuff out that you didn't tell them first, and then they're mad if you do tell them. And I think this is kind of similar. She's mad if he doesn't talk to her, but then she's mad because she doesn't like exactly what he had to say and how he said it.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not necessarily realistic, it's just fucking frustrating.
Oh, yeah, no, I totally agree with you. But I also think that it's pretty realistic. Not when it's done overall. I think there are definitely movies out there and shows out there where, like, 2 lines of dialogue could have cleared things up, and it's really dumb that people don't talk to each other. But the way that they don't talk to each other well in this show, I think is kind of realistic. Yeah, exactly, Rachel. A certain type of woman is just never happy.
Yeah.
And really what it amounts to, and again, when you hit the end of this, you're going to kind of be able to, like, look back and go, oh, yeah? There's a whole lot of just she reacts to things in a way that, like, stuff isn't about her. And things aren't, like, the fairy tale she wants. And you kind of start to go, like, we never find out why she and Chad got divorced.
Specifically, no. We had general ideas earlier, but Chad was vague about it.
But we like never find out. And especially, like, going forward, we find out more about their relationship. And there's, like, the whole thing about, yeah, I've heard all your stories, and she knows his ringtone, and all those, like, little details you get when you're married for a long period of time, which suggests they were married for quite a while. But I mean, he obviously still worships her. And so you have to kind of wonder, like, what was it that she just decided wasn't enough? And again, all of this makes more sense moving forward. But yeah, this episode is really definitely where my opinion of her really started to take a nosedive. So he calls up, he gets rattles off the license plate to try and find out who that belongs to. Trying to remember where this is. Oh, this is where he first goes to the club.
Yep.
The
deliveries are out back.
Yeah, the guy initially looks at him, looks at his color, and says the deliveries are out back. And he, like, pulls out his badge and he's like, let's try that again.
And, like, the funny thing is that it's not even like this guy's tone changes. He's still speaking down to him as if he didn't just wave a badge in his face.
Yeah, he's still a douche.
Yeah.
Considering that this seems like a very, like, exclusive rich person club, yeah, he has the level of condescension I would expect.
Yeah.
Like, you seem too poor for this. Let me speak slowly and clearly.
Molly, that's a really good point about the dog story. Um, and I think that's supposed to be the implication,
Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
except that when Chad talks about it, he doesn't talk about how he was irritated because she stopped. He talked about how, like, proud he was to have married a woman who was so caring.
No, it's not specifically the dog story, it's the difference in character, the idea that Rita needs a project, someone to fix, and that Chad didn't need fixing, which implies he resented that attempt to change him.
I suspect Chad is just unchangeable. And like I said, I've always found it interesting that he phrased it as "I was okay." I thought Molly was saying though that it was a difference in character, that he didn't want to stop for the dog and she did. He just saw it as, well, the dog's been hit; it's definitely going to die. There's nothing that can be done. Move on. And she saw it as, it doesn't matter how far gone it is; I have to try and help it. And I wonder, Chad is so logical. I wonder if he recognized a need to balance that. It's an interesting thing. I would almost like to see parts of this show from their perspectives.
Get real repetitive.
Well, I'm not saying the whole show. I'm just saying, like, occasionally. Because, the one thing I was thinking about is, like, we get to see a lot of different sides of Chad. And we get to see how Hopper's impression of Chad changes as he sees different parts of him. And I have to stop and remind myself that Chad's perspective on Hopper never changes. Because it can't. He's not seeing different aspects of him. He's seeing the same guy over and over and over again. The only time it changes is when Hopper takes him hostage and he gets to see, like he really opens up to him, and he gets to see that, Brett really does care about Rita. And then he goes and tells him, yeah, I have the murder book. If you're right, it's on the front seat of my car. And ends up getting killed for the next 3 rotations because he did it. But the rest of the time, he just reverts to the guy who believes that Hopper was his best friend and believes that Hopper stole his wife. And that, they were cheating on him. They were cheating on him together behind his back. So he goes to this gentleman here. He says he's looking to join the club. He wants to get somebody to sponsor him. The guy kind of laughs and says, if you can get one of them to do that, the first drink's on me. He sees Barry, who was his lawyer in a previous iteration. Heads into the club, goes into the director's office, is in the process of, like, trying to download the member list from a flash drive that he swiped. I love the fact that the guy just happened to have a blank flash drive in his desk. I don't know about you guys, we have like 20 flash drives around here and all of them are always full. He only gets about 10% of the way through when the director walks in. He pulls out his badge, starting to say, oh, I'm a police officer, and the guy interrupts him and says, oh, you're in the wrong place. Everybody else is upstairs. It's like, what? So the guy, walks him through, and then it turns out that there's this big gathering, including this woman who points at him and says, that's the man that killed my husband. And so, quite intelligently, he runs like hell.
Yeah, this guy
Runs back up to the guy. The guy doesn't even hesitate. He's like, emergency exits that way. There is a guy I wanted to see more of, because I was like,
yeah,
he's just so calm about, like, doesn't even blink. Just, yep, go that way. He runs a guy over. It's the guy that bit him in the police station. He tries to, help him get up,
This
and
might
the
be a
guy.
good point to discuss what we thought of this character in general.
Oh, before this or after this?
Like during this scene, because this is where we kind of set the tone to the rest of the episode, which
Okay,
is this character and his relationship to the time loop.
have at.
I found him really annoying, to be honest. I think he
Really?
is a little too wacky compared to the rest of the show.
Well, we also don't know how long he's relived this day over and over again.
He's he says he did not have a beard when he started,
Yeah,
depending on how
And
fast
even
that
he
sucker
doesn't
grew.
know. Assuming that is what's happening, which is
yeah.
likely but slightly ambiguous.
Well, Brett says it's been 3 weeks, and it's only been a day since he gave up shaving. So, assuming that Jared, took a similar tact.
I'm just saying, depending on how many days you live the same day over again, he might just be crazy from that.
Well, the other thing is that um, Eraserhead and I were discussing backstage. Brett has a lot more flashes in this episode, including of stuff that didn't happen that long ago. And I'm pretty sure that what they are trying to show is that Jared's mental state has deteriorated so badly because his brain has just been copying. Brett is having a harder and harder time remembering when things happened and which loop they happened in. And I think Jared is supposed to show what happens if you spend like 6 months or a year reliving the same day over and over again and having your memories rewritten over and over again. I think that's the reason for the increased number of flashes, because we kept saying, like, how is he remembering all of these details and when he can't, like, sometimes remember when simple things happened. And when he has the MRI later, they don't show any sign of there being, like, anything mentally wrong, which sort of suggests it's like in real life, they say that our memories are getting worse in a lot of ways because we have so many passwords and numbers to remember now that we can't remember the things that we normally would have taken for granted because our brain just only has so much space. And I suspect that this is just supposed to be what happens when you spend too long, like, reliving the same day all the time. Because we've been asking, like, how does he remember stuff and, like, what happens long term? And I think Jared is supposed to be the answer. Welcome, Adam. Imagine being caught in a time loop with that jacket. I mean, in 2006, that was probably the height of fashion. Anybody else have any impressions about Jared?
I mean, some of the episode does get a bit goofy when he's in it, but I really don't mind it. I feel like some of it's kind of comedic, but it's comedy that doesn't really come at the cost of the story being told. Like, it's not like modern day Marvel. But I mean, last episode, we get Isabella Contreras' mother, who has dementia and is kind of living, her own kind of hell in her own loop.
Mm-hmm.
And this episode, we get Jared, and it's given to us in a much more comical way, but the point still gets across that, like, both of these people are potentially, in one way or another, something that Brett could become in the future. And yeah, like I said, some of it is a bit goofy. Like, some of the hallway scenes with him running around does feel a bit Scooby-Doo, but I for lack of,
You're so right.
but like I got a laugh out of it, but I didn't think it got in the way of the story. Like, I think if it was any other character and we were seeing that happen, I'd be like, this is fucking ridiculous, but it works with Jared for now.
I thought it was a sad comedy.
Well, no,
Like, it's comedic, but at the same time, especially when you get to the ending. It's just
Well, I think those
I
little bits kind of
I
pull
feel
you.
guilty. I feel guilty for laughing.
Well, yeah, because like there are like the more just upfront funny moments, but they do kind of balance it out with like certain lines of dialogue. We'll get to them when we get to them, but I do, they're there and they do make you feel bad for Jared. Like it's not pure comedy, but a lot of the stuff he's in lean towards comedy here.
So Jared gets up. He says, "I can't get caught again." Cops pull up. Brett puts his hands in the air, and the cops go right by him and go after Jared. And then this guy comes out of the building and says that's not the guy we're looking for. That's the guy we're looking for. So we're off running again. And then we get a shot from the. This is interesting too. We get, I think, we get these kind of random perspective shots from other people's perspectives. And I don't think it's ever Rita. It's like we get these occasional shots from the homicide detectives chasing him. We never get one from Damien's perspective. We get, one scene from Chad's perspective just before he gets shot. But I feel like we've spent a fair amount of time with these homicide detectives. I think it's just to make us hate Spivak more.
Yeah.
So they're on the phone. He says, our witness just ID'd Hopper, and he says, yeah, she did that last night. And he says, no, he was here. Like, she did it in person. I would have led with that. Like, none of this beating around the bush thing. I would have been like, hey, Hopper was here. It's my boy Skinner head dickhead. So I think this is the first time he's ever actually thought to change clothes. Which
now, what do you think of this jacket?
Yes.
Now that's a 2006 jacket.
Yes.
That is so much worse. We will stand out by we will hide by standing out in a bright red sweater. And we are back to the internal affairs appointment and the little guy who likes to throw his weight around. I think this is the scene where she asks if Chad is getting his back waxed or something like that, because she knows a Brazilian woman that can get him beach or
she's like
Speedo ready in under 10 minutes.
I know a Vietnamese girl that could get him Speedo ready.
Oh yeah, there we go.
20 minutes. And then this dude kind of looks at her and he's like, "Oh, can you now?"
So he's like, "You haven't heard yet, have you?" And she's like, "Heard what?" And he tells her about Hopper as Hopper is calling her. So she obviously does not pick up the phone. We then go to Rita and Chad waiting for her appointment. I realized what bugged the hell out of me about her in Scrubs. Every time we've seen her in Scrubs, even when she's in the scenes where she's in the hospital, she never has her hair tied back.
Yeah.
Which would
man, I can't unsee that now.
Which is absolutely not allowed.
No.
So.
Yeah, you never see a nurse like that unless they're on break or something.
This is the look when she says, "Brett was with me all night."
Yeah, he's
This
like
is his
you almost feel bad for him. Like he
Yeah.
moves his eyes away, he looks down, he's like, "Okay."
this is his I have just been, lightly tapped in the nuts look. But you know, you you can see him like squaring his shoulders and yes, absolutely the best Baldwin. Only distantly related. Um so Spivak shows up just in time for to say that it's none of her business who the witness is. Um
Well, no, doesn't he say that they have a warrant for her house?
yeah,
Isn't that okay?
right, but the main point of him being in this particular scene is to like make her curious about who this woman is. Um Though they do go on to like find a bloody shirt in her apartment, and I'm not sure how that happens. I don't know if we've now added planting bloody clothes in her apartment to the setup or
I believe they do, but not to skip too much ahead, but I think in the next loop, he wakes up, he dumps the hamper, and he starts searching for a bloodied shirt, and I don't know if he actually finds one.
I didn't think he did.
So you have to assume it was planted because when he wakes up the next loop, it's not there.
That's true, and just because they haven't found it in previous loops doesn't mean it wasn't there.
My assumption was it was planted after he and Rita both left.
Yeah,
right,
me
but
too.
what I'm saying is that just because this is the first loop we see it, doesn't mean they didn't plant it before, and the cops just never got a warrant for her place before. So this guy's being a dank to somebody on the phone about firing someone. I don't care how sick his kid is. Brett flashes his badge, says police business. I need this laptop.
What? Why is this is like a thing in shows? There's always a guy on his phone who's being a jerk, and somebody
He's
takes
being
his
a
phone.
comic book villain.
Yeah, right.
Like, I don't care if your child is dying of cancer. You need to come into work now, and I'll pay you nothing.
I mean, I have to say that if I was going to steal somebody's laptop for police business that was total bullshit, I would absolutely find the guy who was being a dick.
Yeah.
My issue is no one is this cartoonishly evil in real life.
I'm sorry. Have you met people?
I was just going to say that.
What universe do you live in? Do they have cable there?
This reminds me of the people who are like... Never mind.
I mean, I have
I'll drop it.
literally had bosses that told me I couldn't call out for work sick unless I found my own replacement. And I worked in a hospital, and I was puking. So yes, there are people that cartoonishly evil. So he starts to go through the membership list. We get shots of people around for no particular reason. And he doesn't get very far through the list when he gets company. We get our ex-cop buddies who are just like, hey, we're not going to make a scene, right? We're just going to quietly walk away.
Yeah.
And so they start to haul him off, and then someone shoots them quite randomly. And like an idiot, he immediately pulls his gun, and all the witnesses see a black guy with a gun standing over two dead bodies, and so of course they immediately are like, oh, he killed them.
Well, I wouldn't say that was dumb. I would say that's like the police are trained to do that. There's a gun, there's shots, pull your gun and
Yeah, that was
Okay.
probably
Engage.
muscle memory on his part.
I
Yeah.
was going to say, it's absolutely understandable. It is also the worst thing he could have done.
Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't a sniper, if it was someone closer by who was shooting at him, it would not have been a stupid thing to do, because he would have had to defend himself. But it just so happened the guy who shot them immediately screwed off after they were done.
Kilo is a girl boss. What are you girl bossing?
I am...
How How are you tougher than everyone else?
I think people are good and don't callously hate children on the sidewalk on their douchey phones. That's
Huh.
my hot take of the day.
So Rachel, like, I do have to say I totally agree about the air conditioning being optional. But no. Heat's definitely not optional.
You live in the ice wastes, goat.
Yeah, but even when it's like 95 degrees and 90% humidity, I don't have an air conditioner. I don't have one in the truck either.
Yeah, and we've been over this. You're fucking crazy for that.
No, I'm just not a pussy like you guys.
Well, I guess I'm a pussy then. I'd like to be air conditioned.
I mean, I don't mind being air conditioned. I just don't think it's necessary. So Brett and Angela are having a conversation where she informs him that, like, hey, so you're up to, like, killing 3 people today now. And he's like, no. Really. There was some sniper that, like, shot them. But Rachel, is it a dry heat? Makes all the difference.
But it's a dry heat.
See, considering how catty Rita is to many of his things, the fact that Battle barely bats an eye at him potentially killing 2 random people really goes to show the insane trust she has in him, all things considered.
I mean, I have to say that, so the implication is that Brett and Rita have not been dating very long, but they've apparently known each other a very long time. Like,
well, yeah, she was his partner's wife.
Right. But she didn't, like, know him intimately until recently. Angela has been his partner for 2 years. The fact that there is overwhelming evidence against him, and neither woman will even remotely consider that he, like, killed 1 person, much less 3, is, I think, the weakest thing in this entire show. Like, Rita, I guess
I disagree with that. There's the shaky cam that's worse.
I was trying not to say it. I muted my mic. I bit my tongue.
I think the editing is
Thank
worse.
you.
I was thinking if this was in the theater, it would make people dizzy and make them throw up. The shaky cam stuff.
I was actually nauseous at the thing in the next episode that we're probably not going to get to at this rate.
I mean, I thought we were doing pretty good for us. Spivak walks up on her. She says, you're making it really hard to be your friend, and basically hangs up on him. So it's like the second time he hasn't gotten to tell her what he needs to. Rita's trying to figure out why her phone battery is dead. That's pretty much all that happens. She's just like, I just charged this. She, like, throws it. Jared comes through getting hauled along. Chad brings her some food. She says, I didn't want anything. He says, look, we may be here a while. This lady comes walking through again. He gives Rita the down low on who she actually is. And the fact that she ID'd Hopper as being the killer, and that she's the main testimony against him. And she proceeds to, like, get up and walk in the bathroom, and Chad's like, wait, you can't do that! You can't do that! That's a witness!
It's actually kind of cute how utterly powerless he is to stop her.
Well, and the fact that it never occurred to him that she would do that. He's like, but it's against the rules. You can't do that.
Well, he lacks the heart to, like, physically restrain her. So he's trying to appeal to something he can get across in words, and he's doing terribly.
Well, I mean, his hands are full. He can't grab her. He wouldn't grab her anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's as Eraserhead would say, he's such a Chad. Like about everything else.
It's almost chivalrous in a
And
way.
yet when it comes to Rita, he is just he's so lost. Um so this is where they find the shirt that has his blood on it, or has blood on it. Um it turns out to be the DA's blood. Yet another damning piece of evidence.
That's blatantly obvious. Like,
Uh
why
Honey,
would he just put that in the trash?
yeah. Um Hanayama, he is totally a simp for Rita.
Yeah.
To the point, like, it's cute and chivalrous and stuff, but if you think about it too hard, it's kind of sad. I mean, we don't know how long they've been divorced, but so they have this conversation. He says it doesn't make any sense. You know, why would he like put the gun in his apartment and blood in his bloody shirt in his girlfriend's apartment? Like, this really isn't adding up. And Spivak, like,
he just snaps at the question pretty much.
Asks everyone else to like leave the room, and then he says, "Don't ever question me, in front of people again." And he gets really pissed, and he's like, "It seems to me like you're a lot more concerned about getting Hopper than you actually are, like, finding the killer." Which I don't know. What do you guys think about that scene? I thought it was pretty good. Because, I mean, we've seen him, it's not out of character. We've seen him question, like, this doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense before.
It's
fine.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all. I think, like you said, over the last couple episodes, he starts questioning, I think, since, I believe, episode 5. So, for me, the more interesting thing is the fact that Spivak snaps, kind of, like, he really does lose his shit. Like, he's calm enough to get everyone out of the room first, but the fact that, an alternative is even being brought up, like, he's losing his mind. He's very angry throughout this episode and the next. And I think it's interesting because whenever he's interrogating someone, like, he's got everything down, like, you're in his ball court. But, like, the moment everything's not fitting, like, you just see him lose control. He tries to stay calm, but, like, he gets angry quick.
He's kind of like Brett.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like,
except without the kicking the shit out of people.
It also does make you question. He's got some stake in what's going on, too.
Oh,
that little scene.
Yeah, I will tell you that he does. And I had forgotten what it was, and it's kind of interesting. Welcome, Ben. So we have yet another, tearful end of the day conversation. And she actually tells him this time that maybe he should come in. And she says, "we," and he says, "Who's we?" And of course, Chad is on the other line. And he just hangs up. We get this lonely scene walking off down the grungy alley.
I walk an empty street on this boulevard of broken dreams.
Oh my god. Kick him. Kick him.
I have a girl boss for you.
So this is him going through the laundry. She's like, "What are you looking for? Like, what is going on?" And this is another day that just kind of doesn't start out very well. She's got the whole furrowed eyebrows going on. I think this might be the episode we watch her in her underwear more often than any other. And he once again is trying to explain, and explain that, he's not upset with her, that he's just, like, having a rough time. Is this the one where he says, like, Andrea's gonna call in 20 seconds?
Yeah.
And she does, obviously. And Rita's like, can he call you back? And then she's like, you're kind of freaking me out. And once again, it doesn't really seem to do any good. She just kind of, like, walks off and shuts the door. So this time he gets to the director's office, and Jared is sitting at the desk. And he's like, you're not supposed to be... He's like, you're not supposed to be here. And Jared's like, I'm always here. You're the new guy. And they have a little back and forth, and Jared finally says, I'm living the same day over and over again. And he's like, go ahead, laugh. I know how it sounds. I know it's crazy. And Brett's like, but I'm living the same day over and over again. And the sheer joy he says several times, it's so good just not to be alone anymore. And I think Brett has kind of the same reaction, but not to the same extent. So he says that his brother has been kidnapped. He's trying to find the person that did it. He knows that they belong to this club, and he's been memorizing the list. And he's like, you need to update your tactics, like, flash drive. This is where we find out about Four Eyes, too, right? Or is that later? I don't remember.
I believe it's in a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he knows the guy belongs to this. And he gives him a hug. He says, this is the first time. He's like, it's so good not to be alone. And this guy walks in. He's like, whoa. And he's like, he just found out he's a good friend of, I forgot the DA's name.
Garza,
there we go. He's very emotional. He's like, I just need to get my day planner. And he's like, the man just lost his best friend. Like, get out. So they get the membership list. This is where he says, I'm memorizing the list. So he downloads the file. This guy goes in and says, we're trying really hard to, like, be accommodating here, but, we do have guests and a lot of private information, and you can't just, like, take over my office. They said, everybody's here. Like, there are no officers in your office. And he says, well, I beg to differ. An African-American gentleman just flashed his badge at me and told me to get out of my office. He's like, you should show me.
And once again, like, there's this awkward pause right before he says African-American
like,
gentleman.
How do I say
about
that?
to say something. He was like, there's a African-American, like, there's just that awkward pause that is just, like, it's so wrong. But it's so
there's an angry, there's an angry African-American man in my office.
Yeah, I do love those little tiny, like, blips like that. I'm sure they were funny in 2006. They're funnier now.
Yeah.
So he says, how long have you been like this? And he looks in the mirror and says, well, I didn't have this. And Brett kind of flashes back to realizing, he's got this beard going. And he doesn't know, and he says, this is when we find out that Brett figures he's been at this about 3 months. And 3 is apparently one of the trigger things that causes this guy's seizures.
It's 3 weeks, right?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I have months on the brain because I was trying to figure out if there was anything that gave us an idea about how long Jared had been. I was looking at his beard and wondering if it would take about 3 months to grow a beard like that. So they're on the lookout for him. He like has to basically like drag him because he's just hit the floor. And he makes a comment about, having issues when they stuck a needle in him. Or starting to have issues when they stuck a needle in him. And he says, like, was it in a quarry? And he says, no, it was some kind of lab. So they're, like, hiding out. He basically tells him to stay put. The room that they're in, he needs a key for. They do not stick an officer on the door while waiting to get a key, which I thought was kind of weird.
Yeah.
So he tells him to, like, hang out there. He hits the guy at the front desk again, who he knows is, I'm trying to remember what it is he's looking for at this point.
I think he asked this dude about Detweiler, and the guy says, "Hey, sorry, can't help you." And then he flips the magazine, and there's
oh yeah, maybe you can help me.
It's an address and a time.
Yeah, maybe you can help me with this crossword puzzle.
Yeah.
And he goes back to find out that Jared has been caught by the police again. And the guy at the front desk jerks his finger back towards the emergency exit again. He's just like, that away. This time he doesn't even wait to, like, be asked for help. He is just like, yep, that way. And he sees Barry Coleman, who was his lawyer in a past rotation, getting into his car. So he basically just shoves him in the car and jumps in after him. And he says, I need to hire you. And Barry says, oh, you're that cop that's being tried for the murder. And he says, you can't afford me, just to, like, get me to talk to you is $30,000. And he says, where's an honest cop supposed to come up with that kind of money? And he's like, good point. Give me $1. You are now covered under attorney-client privilege.
He's thinking, like, the book deal will be, I'll make millions.
Yeah, he says, what about your fee? And he's like, I'll make 3 times that on the book deal alone. It's hey Rio.
Breaking Bad's gonna use that same joke in 2 years, which is kind of funny.
Well, what's entertaining is that continues. He's one of the questions he asks him when he's, like, talking about how he's going to get him loose is, do you have a publicist? I can recommend one. It feels like something out of Chicago. I don't know if anybody's ever, like, seen the musical Chicago. When they talk about, like, the entire thing is about murders being tried in the public eye instead of in the courts. So we are back here. Chad is doing his, good lord, he is so tall in that shot.
Yep.
he looks like he's about to wrap his head on the ceiling.
I looked up both the actors. Rita took a step down. Chat is 6'4", and Brett is
5'8".
5'8"
or something. That's hilarious.
Well, and, you look at him and you think, well, he's really built and he's buff and everything. But I was saying earlier, I was like, man, they worked really hard to hide Baldwin's physique under a layer of, like, snotty nerd. Because that man is built. Like, when he's in Firefly, like, he looks good.
Yeah, he could probably pick Brett up and throw him across the room.
Well, he does a couple of times, I think. I mean, there's a reason that he looks like a suit and still wins, a good 75% of his fights when he gets into a fist fight. So we go back to the, we found an interesting thing on your driving record, and Chad goes, not happening. And he starts to lay hands on Spivak, and Spivak's not having any of that. Hey, John Malema.
Hey, Gemma.
Yeah, Rachel, I totally agree. So he basically just kind of does a, not going to lay hands on you. Oh, and Spivak gets called out of the room at this point. And
Yeah, there's always something that calls him out of the room right before they question Rita further about the whole driving record thing.
the first time Chad just says no, this isn't happening. What it is if both officers are in there, when Chad says we're not going there, they just drop it. If Spivak is in there alone, he wants to keep pushing and gets called out of the room by his partner.
No, I know. I'm just saying that it's like I get they want to keep the mystery going. It's just like here I don't mind it, and in previous episodes, but the last episode when they kind of just create the magical CI for the sake of pulling him out of the room, I thought that was a little goofy. So I actually prefer when it's Chad or his partner pulling him out of the room. It feels a bit more believable.
Well,
Where, like I
his
said,
partner did pull him out before. He pulled
no,
him out.
no, but like it's. I don't know. I just felt like last week's episode with the magical CI felt a little
Yeah, the
goofy.
CI
So I
was
much prefer
yeah.
when it's these two actors kind of just getting in each other's face. It's a lot more grounded.
Yeah, I do agree with that. The other thing that's interesting is he has looked so imposing this entire time. Like, this shot is designed to show off Adam Baldwin's height in all its glory.
Yeah.
And then we get this shot when she says, like, what if they know? And he says, I took care of it. It's okay. Which they're still doing in a bugged police room. Oh, yeah, that was the other thing. Spivak says, as defensive as you're getting, it seems like maybe you got something to hide, too. But this shot where he, like, lowers himself beneath her for the shot, considering how hard they've worked to make him seem imposing the rest of this scene, I thought was really interesting.
Well, the other thing I like, too, and I don't know if it's a constant thing and if it happens every time, but whenever Chad is interacting with Brett, they always do that thing with the lighting where he's got like the Harvey Dent Two-Face thing going on with like shadow. Whenever he's with Rita, his whole face is just like completely lit up. There's not that, that half of him that, is kind of more dirty copper that Brett's seeing. It's just him like at his most pure trying to protect her.
That's a good observation.
Yeah.
I had noticed the Harvey Dent thing with Brett. I had not noticed the fact that he never has it when he's alone with Rita.
I mean, I'd have to go back and check to make sure he never has it, but it does seem like whenever he's with her, his whole face is lit up.
I have been trying to remember, do we ever see his hands?
Whose?
Chad's.
I mean,
I think so.
We've seen them. We've seen him fight in. Like,
I want
had his hands up.
I want to know if he's still wearing his wedding ring.
You
have
to look for that.
We have this scene where they're talking to Jared, and Jared basically says, yeah, I was with him, but I can't tell you what we did because he and me were alike. Like, we're two peas in a pod. And then proceeds to babble what they consider just insanity. This is weird to me. Is that wall behind him supposed to be a mural or something? Because it just ends up looking to me like a busted up wall. I think it's supposed to be a painting, but that shot is not great. Considering how many wonderful shots they've had.
Like the bottom ripped off? What I'm talking about?
I think maybe it's supposed to be a scene, painting of a scenery of some sort.
Oh, okay.
But it just ends up looking torn. So he is talking to his new attorney who wants to know if he has a publicist. And he realizes that he has a hourglass on his desk. And in true Brett fashion, proceeds to strangle the guy. And he's like, instead of just saying, hey, that's an interesting hourglass. Like, where'd you get that? He like slams his head into the table and chokes him a little bit. And the fact that Barry takes this extremely well and is just like, I can work on this, but next time no choking.
Chad is not wearing his Redding Wing, by the way.
He's not. Okay.
He's not. At least he's not in the next episode when they have that awfully edited fight scene.
Oh boy.
Anyway, so it turns out that all the board members of the club have one of those hourglasses. It's an inside joke to keep them from talking too much.
I need me one of those.
Does Brett? I can't remember. Does Brett even apologize for choking the guy out for no reason?
No,
Brett, what do you
I don't
think?
think he does. Like, basically, when the guy says next time no choking, like, I think at the most Brett kind of gives him a nod, like, okay. But there's no actual apology. And
I'm trying to think of a single time Brett has apologized this entire show, and it's hard to think of one.
He does to Rita.
Fair.
Okay,
He might to Chad once.
I'm looking at one of the scenes where Chet gets shot, and he's got a wedding ring on.
Oh.
Yeah, see, I actually had a really hard time believing that he wasn't still wearing it. I mean, he still occasionally slips and refers to her as his wife.
I mean, if it's a prop, I don't know if the actor was married at the time, but if it's a prop, he might not have had it on in a previous scene or something, maybe.
Welcome Action Tactics. So he's going through the list of board members, and he runs across an Alexander Forres, who, by the way, is the first person he does not say who they are. He's busy trying to show off how powerful and wealthy the board members are, and he skips what this guy does. But then he's like, hey, back that up. He's like, oh yeah, that's Four Eyes. And like I said, there are a lot of flashes in this, so we get this flash here that even though it took place 15 minutes ago.
I do find it funny that Jared refers to him as like the guy with the glasses, and his last name sounds like Four Eyes.
Well, that's probably why he heard it that way.
No, yes. I know. I'm sure it's intentional. I just find it funny.
I find it interesting how often Barry appears to be baring his teeth at Brett. He's another guy who talks through clenched teeth a lot. Brett is a dickhead. Confirmed.
That was confirmed like 7 episodes ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there are no flawless characters. There are definitely. It's one of the things I like about this. You root for people while still going, yeah, he's being a dick.
That's fair. Also, I'm curious about when he gets shot to look at it, because I'm looking at the scene where he would have gotten shot next episode, and he's not wearing it there either. Maybe it's a continuity error, and you just
maybe
have the actor wear it one day.
I wonder if, because remember we've talked about how little things in his relationship with Rita affect where he ends up being in the timeline. Like when she's nice to him and she stays with him, like there's a lot more between them, and when not, he ends up at the ATM.
When you mentioned you saw him wearing one when he got shot, which episode and what timestamp?
That's the episode 8 timestamp. I already closed it. Let me check. I'll pull it back out. Give me a sec.
It's a nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
So he basically...
One thing, they might have had him take the ring off during a fight scene in case it, accidentally caught.
True, but in the scene where he doesn't get shot next episode, it's not a fight scene, and he's still not wearing it. He's wearing a watch, which is shiny, but he's not wearing a Redding ring.
Well, but what I'm wondering is that we've already talked about how much of his day gets planned around how Rita treats him. I wonder if whether or not he wears his ring is dependent on.
I feel like that's giving this show slightly too much credit, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, if your ex-wife is with someone else, do you wear the wedding ring around her? I mean, when you're not with her, you might still wear it, but be kind of weird to wear it in front of her, especially when she's with her boyfriend.
Okay, it's episode 8, and it's 23 minutes in. It's at the ATM.
So he talks to Andrea. He says, "I need information." She starts to question him. He says, "Look, you always help me anyway, so can we just jump to that part?" And she's like, "Excuse me? Like, what am I, your secretary?" And he's like, "No, you're my partner." And then she softens up a little bit and she gets him the information he wants.
I'm looking at that same scene. I do not see it.
You don't?
I mean, we're gonna get there, guys.
But what if we talked about it for an hour first before we actually watched the scene?
Then you'll complain because the show went for 4 hours.
I trust Goat to with the random time skips to avoid the copyright robots. I trust her to hit a perfect shot of Chad's hands at some point.
If I have to, I will actually play a few seconds. It's not like I'm monetized, so who cares? So she gets an address for the guy. Turns out he has absolutely nothing in the system, not even a parking ticket. The only reason he's in the system is that he's filed a restraining order against Jared in the past. We once again have the scene with...
Oh, you're right. I found it.
Yeah.
Are we ready now? Can we move on?
No.
I took a picture as proof, just in case.
We once again have Rita going into the bathroom. Except this time we actually see what happens that makes her change her mind and tell Brett that maybe he needs to turn himself in. This woman is crying in front of the sink, and she says,
This is Mrs. Garza, by the way.
Yes. I know you think that, I'm sorry you're hurting, but you're wrong about him. Like, Brett Hopper is my boyfriend. I was with him all night. There's absolutely no way he could have killed your husband. And she says quite convincingly, like, this was my husband. We were married for, 47 years? Something like that. And, like, I came downstairs. I heard his name first. He was standing over my husband with a gun. Like, I saw him. I saw his face.
It's not like we couldn't have guessed that this was how the conversation went. It's not really a surprise necessarily.
No, I know, but
I mean, I think it's worth it because the acting
is very
It's a good
convincing.
scene, yeah.
Yeah, it's well acted on both their parts because Mrs. Garza's really acting her heart out, and Rita kind of realizes, my alibi doesn't really her entire point is, I went to bed with Brett, I woke up, he was next to me. That really doesn't hold up as well as, this woman crying her eyes out in court, in detail, talking about how she saw Brett there. Because she's realizing, you could kind of argue that, you fell asleep, you woke up with him, there's still hours of that you were unconscious.
Well, she did in another rotation tell them that she got up to use the bathroom at 2:00 and he was there.
Yeah, but do you think that that's the truth, or do you think that that's her genuinely just trying to, covering for him and being like, oh yeah, well, I woke up at one point in the middle of the night, he was there?
I think she's covering for him and he did it.
He is on the phone with his lawyer. His lawyer's like, yeah, you're basically fucked. Your best bet is if you plead guilty, I can probably get you murder too. Yeah, you might be looking at life, but at least you won't be looking at the death penalty. And he hangs up on him. And he is now at the address and time that he was given. Our unnamed rescuer pulls up.
No, his name is Lloyd.
Is it Lloyd?
I believe, yeah. I believe he says it the first time they meet. He says his name is Lloyd.
You're far better with names than I am.
I could
mean,
be making that up.
I can't even remember the DA's name half the time, and I've now watched this 3 times in a row, so.
Always fact check me. I could be talking out of my ass here, but he looks like a Lloyd at the very least.
He does.
And he says, "You understand I have to be careful, and I'm sorry." And then he looks past Brett. Brett gets punched in the face, and then he wakes up with duct tape over his mouth again.
That happens a lot to him.
Yeah, I mean, when they did the MRI, if nothing else, you'd think they'd find the repeated brain damage from head injuries.
Yeah, right.
Explains everything else about the character.
He's down in sand, and he's like, I confess, I killed Garza. No, you didn't. And he realizes that instead of being in the quarry, he's like in a park somewhere. And this big guy says, your dad was on the right track with the girl. And then he like pulls out a knife and throws it in the dirt next to his head, and he's like, "Yeah, that's for the zip ties. See ya." He has a very punchable face.
Eraserhead is right. The bartender's name is Lloyd.
Hell yeah. I love Lloyd. He's my man.
And then he just takes off. I have to say, I do not understand why that scene happens. In the grand scheme of things, that scene makes no sense.
Well,
might have been a holdover from when they thought they had more episodes per series.
Wait, didn't those guys say that they knew his dad or something?
Yeah, they said, consider us friends of your father.
Of your father, yeah. But they don't tell him anything. They don't do anything. They just punch him in the face, give him a head injury, tie him up, say, "Good job, you're doing fine," and leave.
Yeah, that pissed me off because they don't give him any information or anything to help him. It's just like, "Hey kid, we exist, thumbs up." Like it's one of those things where you assume you're going to see more of them later, and if you don't, then this is absolutely ridiculous. Like I thought it was silly, but I was willing to give it a pass, assuming that there's more later. But yeah,
I'm trying to remember. So, do you find out the big guy's name in any of the episodes? I'm trying to remember if it's the next episode or
the big guy. What big guy?
Big guy.
The big guy that gave him the knife. The hefty guy.
I don't think it ever shows their faces.
Sure it does.
No, they're all in shadow.
Oh yes, look at that well-lit shot of his face, guys.
I mean, you can still see he's a big, hefty guy.
Oh.
All right, I'm guessing it
probably says big hefty guy on IMDb. Anyway.
So here's your entertainment, because I guess it's episode 9 you find it. His name is Hippo.
Hippo.
He is literally never named anything except Hippo.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh yeah, there it is. Hippo.
I thought I was bad gonna call him like knockoff John Candy. Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah, no, his name is Hippo. So we have yet another bad morning. He's still cranky. He's getting more cranky. He waits for Jared this time, because he knows where he's going to run by. Waves him into the car. Jared looks very confused for a second. And then we go to the doctor's house. Oh, I don't think we found out he's a doctor yet, but 4 eyes.
I'm surprised we got through this episode in a little over an hour.
Hey, that's what I was aiming for.
Mostly.
I mean, if I hadn't had to keep dragging you off, shots that were going to go back over again in 30 minutes.
That's just because I didn't bitch about the editing.
Yet.
Yeah, I do have to say the next episode, that stuff is worse. This is interesting. He has his hands as if he were cuffed, even though he didn't get caught and cuffed this time. But he says he can't go in there and face the guys, so he asks Brett to go in for him. And he says, I'm here about Jared Pryor. And the guy says, I have a restraining order. He says, yeah, that's what I'm here for. Guy pours him coffee. Or pours himself coffee, I guess. And Brett, once again, in good old-fashioned Brett form, starts threatening the guy. And the guy says, I was his doctor. And he says that he suffered from massive seizures and had all of these various disorders. He was having memory issues. He was having delusions. And he suffers from a condition which causes him to constantly feel like he's got deja vu. And combined with the fact that he's got memory issues, he really has trouble hanging on to certain memories. Chad is a better character. He's much less two-dimensional. But, the antagonists of a piece very frequently have to be stronger characters than the protagonists. It's one of the reasons I hate Marvel these days. So anyway, he goes on to explain that Jared has had this medical issue and that they had to do surgery on his brain. And when he woke up, he continued to have problems. And he says, well, he blames me for his brother. And he says, well, what happened to his brother? And he said he died of cancer, but he can't remember that. So, in a very real sense, I took away the memory of his brother. As far as he knew, his brother was alive, and then he went in for surgery, and then his brother was gone.
And this whole sequence kind of gaslights Hopper into thinking, oh, maybe I'm not well in the head either.
Yeah, he's like, maybe I've got this issue too.
And Hopper asks him, how'd you know if you had this? And the doctor's like, unless you're getting seizures, you probably wouldn't.
Right. Well, and the thing is that people that have seizures frequently don't know that they've had a seizure until they wake up and discover they've wet themselves. They usually have, short-term memory issues. They're usually very disoriented. So you might not even know then, especially considering how many times Brett gets hit in the head and passes out and is knocked out. So he comes back out and he says, did you find my brother? And he says, no, but he's not who I thought he was. But he does want to talk to you about your brother. And he leads him to this guy. And we get another, it's so good not to be alone. You're the first person who ever believed me. Thank you. Hopefully Brett feels like shit because now he doesn't believe him. And he's, basically they say their goodbyes. And as he's being led in, he says, I owe you an apology. I shouldn't have treated you the way I did. And Brett's like, yeah, whatever. And as he's walking away, Jared says, but I'm sorry I bit you. And there's the end of the episode.
Whoa. That'll be crazy to see more of next time.
Did you guys like the ending?
It's fine. I feel like
It's
one
fine,
of my
but...
first the things that came to my mind when it became evident that they might be the same time loop is I would have asked him, oh, so you remember biting me in the police station, since that was the most noteworthy thing I remember of that character. So if it happened to be me, I would have asked that earlier, but that's not really a realistic complaint. It's fine.
Jared's memory is so bad. I assumed.
No, I'm talking about if I was Brett in Brett's situation.
Right, but I don't know that I would have. Well, and part of it may be that Brett maybe just didn't really want to know. He just wanted to believe he wasn't alone. And I mean, I think we've discovered repeatedly that thinking logically is really not Brett's strong suit in.
Yeah, if they had a marginally longer conversation, then most of this episode wouldn't have happened. But hey.
Yeah, Action Tactics says, I came in late. Interesting show I've never seen. Yeah, almost no one did. It is available in its entirety on YouTube for free in high def, so I highly recommend. And apparently binge watch it, because if you binge watch it, it works a lot better.
Indeed.
So he is in getting brain testing. And the general consensus is, nope, your brain is fine. Which is fascinating, because I don't think I've ever known a hospital, even in 2006, where you could get an MRI without a doctor's order,
Just walk in
get
off the
it
street.
Yeah,
Hey, can I
in a
get
get
an
it
day,
MRI?
get
less
it
than a
done,
day.
yeah, and paid for, and get your results in the same day. Um, Brett's default emotion is angry, followed by annoyance. Yeah, pretty much, pretty much.
Yep, checks out.
Yep. Brett just
Um,
walks in and says, flashes his badge. I need my head scan, please.
Here's my very good police insurance. So basically, the doctor says, like, do you have a family history of this? Like, why are you looking for, this extremely rare thing? And he said, nah, I'm going over to see my sister to, like, check out and see if my dad had it, kind of thing. Doctors are overrated.
And then the doctor tells him, like, hey, man, sorry to say this, but, there's nothing special about your brain.
Yeah,
Which,
I
Jesus
did
Christ,
love
is
that.
that
I did
true?
love that line. Yeah, there's nothing special about your brain. So he goes to his sister's house. The door is open. He walks in, because he's Brett. He pulls out his gun immediately. Finds a cereal bowl lying on the floor, but then he hears a car, goes out, says, where were you guys? They were like, we're at the hospital. Like,
It's funny. Every time he talks to his sister, he starts off, "Where have you been?"
yeah, which is funny because, again, he remembers, them interacting recently. She thinks they haven't interacted in 6 months. Rachel, what's amazing that he had one?
Your brain.
Had a brain.
Doctor looks at Brett. You're not an asshole because of brain damage. You're just an asshole.
Pretty much, yeah.
So she's quite upset. Her husband is really pissed off. And he basically says, like, why don't you leave us alone? You're really good at that. Giving us the impression, if you don't have it already, that there's been other stuff going on in their life that we don't know about yet. We already know that she got the picture. But there may be other stuff going on, and she says, do you think he knows about the briefcase? And he basically says, we're going to get through this. It'll be fine. He is the meme about the dog in the place on fire. Like, we're going to get through this. It'll be fine.
Is it am I the only one that feels that like she is completely like out acting him? Like, I don't know, dude. Jennifer is
Who?
completely like just overshadowing her husband's actor. Like, her performance is far better than his.
Well,
Well,
to
yeah,
be
but she's also a more
fair,
important character.
well, and I was going to say, to be fair, she gets to have more emotional range.
That's true. I don't know. I think maybe because like most of the other actors in the show, I know who they are, so I was expecting like good performances. I'm not familiar with her, and she's killing it in every scene she's in.
She is. But she also gets more screen time, so she also gets more chance to be good. But she is good. I think all of the actors in this really. I'm trying to think if there's any actor in here that just didn't do a great job. Hey, Adam, have a good evening. Thank you for coming.
Oh, later, Adam.
Bye, Adam.
Like, I'm even having trouble, like, if I had to come up with a weakest character. I'm kind of struggling with who that would be.
Probably the husband, yeah.
Well, but again, he's not intended to have much time or emotional range, so he's basically designed to look like angry, terrified, and helpless all at the same time. He's a guy who really wants to, like, protect his wife, but realistically is way less strong than she is. I am a paper pusher, and that's it. There is a scene, I can't remember if it's in this episode or the next episode, where he tells Brett, you don't know how I feel, like they hurt her. And
it's in this episode, I believe.
It is in this episode, and there was nothing I could do. Like, I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so, like, everything that we've seen with him is supposed to be this scene of, like, just helpless anger and fear and, like, trapped by his own pussiness. So he goes into a camera store. These guys are like, what the hell's going on? And they're watching him. He drives by, like, makes a roll down your window sign. They roll down their window. And hey, you remember when, like, you know, instant develop camera things were still a thing? I forgot these still existed in 2006, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just just Polaroids them. What's really great is the fact that he never even really aims. He just sort of, like, holds it at them. But, I mean, he's point blank range, so just snapshot. And and this guy, the younger guy, is like, oh no, and the other guy's laughing. He's like, damn it. Like, sort of respectful. Like, there are some scenes where Buck seems to kind of respect him.
Yeah.
Rachel says that's a new one, trapped by his own pussification. So he's telling her, like, hey, you know, don't worry, everything's gonna be fine. He does a whole lot of, yeah, everything's gonna be fine. We're gonna get through this. He repeats that a lot. But this scene here is kind of the first hint we get that maybe he doesn't, like, beat the crap out of her on a regular basis like we've been thinking for 8 episodes. So he meets up with Andrea. He gives her the photograph. This is where Eraser complains because this means she didn't know Buck after all.
Trying to be positive here.
I will sum it up for you. Eraser goes back to episode 2 and is still mad that she didn't shoot Buck. Because this means she didn't know him. So he asks Andrea to pull her friends, the friends she still has at County, and find out who these guys are. I'm going to go back through the comments at some point and just total up how many times Hanayama said the word dick.
Well, now you just challenged him.
I have a joke for that, but I'm going to save it. So he goes to his mother's house and he starts going through her stuff. And she shows up, starts wailing on him, and he's like, Mama, it's me. And she says, I know, and smacks him again.
That's a good mom right there.
You know, there's always been this kind of thing about, like, yo, you won't talk to Mom. And I always thought, like, you spend the whole time going, oh, like, it's
she just must be a really nasty person.
Well, I spent the whole time going, oh, this is just him being like, lack of communication and being a dick again. And then I'm like, oh no, she's where he gets his dick. Like, her attitude is so much worse than his even. Even his mom beats his ass. So she does give him a glass of lemonade at least.
I
Uh,
Yeah,
like
while
what she says. She's like, I saw it on the news. You killed somebody. It's like, I didn't kill anybody. I know that. I didn't raise a killer.
but why did I have to learn about it from the news?
yeah,
She is also really self-centered. Not I'm worried about you and you're on the run, but like how come you didn't call me?
and then she kind of hits him with the same, like the typical, well, you know, listen, if you didn't kill him, just turn yourself in. I'm sure it's just a big misunderstanding, and everyone will understand that. And it's the same shit he's heard so many times, and it's coming from someone he doesn't even want to be talking to begin with right now. So yeah, like I do feel for Brett.
It is amazing how many people like in this like middle class suburb environment are just like, if you just turn yourself into the police with all of this tons of evidence hanging over your head, like I'm sure it'll turn out fine.
And then he's like, there was a man with one arm. Sorry.
Oh man.
So then she finds out that he's after his father's stuff. And now she's pissed because he didn't even show up to tell her he was being hunted by the police. He showed up for his dad's stuff. And she said, this is the first time we find out that his parents were actually divorced. And she says, you know, we were divorced long before your father died. What makes you think I would have any of his stuff? And then we find out that Jen has it in a storage locker. And she has a key. This is not the first time he hasn't been driving, but it is the first time he has looked like a child sitting in the passenger seat sulking. Yeah, she blows through a stop sign. He's like, for a woman who's like, oh no, you know, just law and order will prevail, just, you know, turn yourself in. She's like, no, I'm not stopping at that stop sign because they just put it in, so it doesn't count.
It doesn't count yet. They just installed it.
Law and order is great as long as it's, you know, not me. So yeah, there's lots of cranky making, you know, I have a mom that likes to guilt trip me conversation. She is she's like, drinks? Yeah, sure, I'll have drinks. I have a soft spot for you guys at County. So she's sending this picture, and while she's sending it, Chad shows up wanting to know why she's not at her meeting, and she says, well, I'm working. I'm investigating a murder case. And he gets a good look at the picture and gets real unhappy real quick. And she kind of drops the screen and she's like, you know, we can go to our meeting. And then he says, nope, meeting's off, gotta go. Because he also is a terrible liar. The cops show up to question Jen at the school. He says, look, I'm sure it's nothing. I'll take the kids and go home where it's safe. Rachel, he has mommy issues and daddy issues. She is once again worried about, you know, well, what if people know? And then Spivak shows up once again with his oral fixation.
He knows where every vending machine in town is, including at the school.
I've come to the conclusion maybe that's the only food he gets.
Yeah.
he just lives on vending machines. I will tell you, because this isn't really a spoiler, there is a scene where they walk by the vending machine And this is how you find out the guy's name, I think, is he says, "Hey, Hippo, I see you lair eyeballing that last Nutty Buddy. Don't even think about it." And the guy stands up, and it's the big guy. Apparently, they have a Nutty Buddy war going on. But yeah, he has his oral fixation going on. He's like, "What's the matter? Everybody got secrets?" So they get into the storage locker. He discovers that his dad, in fact, like, had stored all of his stuff from when he was a kid. And he's like, "Oh, I thought I lost all this." And then his mother says, like, all his stuff is missing. Like, it was lined up in all these boxes along the wall. And she says, "I hope someone took them." He says, "Who else has a key?" And she says, "Me and Jen and Nick." And he says, "Uncle Nick?" She says, "Yeah, he helped us a lot afterwards." And he says, "You think he would have taken them?" And she says, "I hope he did take them, and I hope he burned them." And here's our first introduction to Uncle Nick.
Mugshots. Great name for a boat.
So he says, "Uncle Nick." And the guy goes, "What the hell are you doing here, you idiot?"
Yeah, I love this guy so much.
Yeah, he was in
Supernatural.
Yeah, Supernatural, yeah.
He's like, I don't hear from you for 6 months. I think maybe he started dating Rita 6 months ago, because all of his family is like, you just fell off the map like 6 months ago. He's like, "I don't hear from you for 6 months, and then you show up today like this." Like, there were retired cops all over this marina. What are you doing? He's the epitome of like if you're going to have like retired cop as a picture, you know, receding hairline, beer gut, fishing boat.
Do we see the? Are we going to see the name of the boat with jumps here? Because if we don't, that's a crime. Because it's so good.
We already did.
Oh yeah, it does it in the first. I didn't actually pick up on it until later when it's really obvious in the foreground.
So anyway, he's looking for his dad's stuff. He says, "What are you calling me, a thief?" He said, "No, but like, you had a key. Did you happen to take his stuff?" Like, and Nick is super defensive about this. And he tries to talk to him about the case, and Nick is also a terrible liar. And finally admits that they were basically ordered to shut the case down at some point. And that he has no idea who gave the order. He just knows they were just told to make it go away. Chad meets up with Buck, and he says, "Hey, I just got shown your picture in conjunction with a murder case. What's up?" Buck's like, "Hey, don't worry about it, man. It'll be fine." "It'll be fine" is like, the motto of every character in this show, practically. Nah, it'll be fine.
Hell yeah.
And Chad gets a little pushy, and Buck says, "Hey, you know how these things work? 'Cause you owe me." And Chad's like, "Yeah, well, there comes a point where I don't owe you." Lots of teeth baring in this episode. And then there is the shaky cam fight scene.
I was actually physically nauseous during this.
I mean, you get punched in the stomach enough times, you probably are too.
No, this felt like being punched in the head, Goat. That was the experience of watching that tussle between the cars.
What I found entertaining is that, like, Buck goes to pull a gun, and Chad grabs it, and he's like, "Are you crazy? I'm a cop."
It's like, he didn't care.
Like it's one thing to get into a fisticuffs with somebody else, but like, this I think is the first time that he actually realizes that they will just kill him if he's inconvenient.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the let a drunk guy film this school of filming.
Yeah, right.
Well,
It's so
let a drunk
fucking
let a
bad.
let a drunk guy film the fight scenes anyway. I like the fact that both of them look messed up. I like the fact that he is sweating. There are way too many fight scenes where people come out of it like looking far too
Spotless.
pretty. And I'm not sure I have even when they have the convenient tiny line of blood or something like that. I don't think I've ever seen an actor sweating after a fight scene unless it was like they'd been oiled down to look like they were sweating. But he's wearing a 3-piece suit and he just fought a big guy. Like, he should be sweating. In California. He should be sweating all the time, honestly. So he gets the gun away from him. We go to Jen. She finds the cereal bowl overturned much earlier in the day. The phone rings and all it says is push play. And there is a little laptop-y thing, which, if anyone was paying close attention, is the same one, or at least the same style, as Brett gets shown Rita's murder on.
Yes, it's also a very strange computer, just in general.
Yeah.
Mine is very weird.
Isn't that like a travel DVD player or something?
Something like that.
So we hear Randall's voice saying, you have to do something. And we cut back to Angela, who's saying, hey, Chad's acting super weird. Here are the names of the guys you wanted, and I think Chad knows them. Because he's being bizarre. He comes back, looking all bruised up.
Limping. He's actually limping.
Yeah. And says, like, in my office right now. And he tries to grill her, but she's going like, so what's the other guy look like? Like, you can have information when I can have information. And what's interesting is that, like I said, most of these have, you get either like a convenient, bruise or like one little cut or something like that. Like, his mouth looks swollen, like we got punched in the mouth. And there's actually a scrape across his cheekbone.
Mm-hmm.
So far more realistic looking injuries as well. And she's...
Yeah, I like what she says here too.
Which part?
Where she says, I'm not afraid to let my secrets out. How about you?
I was trying to decide if he was supposed to look scared when she says that, or if he's just supposed to look pissed. Or both.
I think he just looks pissed all the time.
Well, I was going to say, like, most of the men in this show seem to default to anger, so. Yeah, I agree with Rachel. It does look like the hit connected. Either way. And she looks like she knows it. So she shows in the picture again, is like, hey, how do you know these guys? And he basically says, GTFO. Here you go. Here's your mug shots. Kilowatt, here's your mugshot.
Yep. Beautiful. That's so cheesy. I love it.
So we have more conversations about the whole police corruption, covering things up. Is there anything in this conversation I'm missing that's important? Or is it just more of the same?
He mentions that either probably his sister or mom is holding out on him. I think that's what they're talking about in this specific part of the
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah, one of them's holding out on you.
I think he also mentions that um, he was an alcoholic and that Brett's father did kind of help him sober up eventually because he uses it as a lie earlier, saying like, "Oh, I don't know anything about the case. You know, I used to be really drunk back then, sleeping off in the car." But we
Yeah,
do
that's true.
like,
He said I if your dad told me to do something, I did it. I owed him my life.
Yep.
yeah, and it does seem like when other characters talk about Brett's father, it's usually in a very negative light. But this guy really does seem like he respects him a lot. Like he really was there for him and helped him sober up. There is a bit of like that partner loyalty, like, you know, is still there.
Um Spyback hates Hopper Sr.
Yep.
He
And Hopper
turns it
Jr. by extension.
Yeah, I think we've covered that the reason he's so eager to bust this guy is that he thinks that his dad was corrupt and he thinks the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yep.
So he's ready to believe that it's Brett just based on the fact that he doesn't like his dad. But like the chief knew him and said he was a good man and a good cop. And I thought somebody else said he was.
Well, that's what they tell Hopper, right?
True. But I mean, Hippo had so much respect for his dad he was willing to like punch his son in the face and duct tape him.
And
If that's what a father's love, I don't know what is.
not sure if it happens here or if it happens later, but he tells Brett that his father went to Garza for the Contreras murder, and even though Miguel Dominguez was in prison and couldn't have technically done it, he still went to Garza regardless. And going into that meeting, he was looking hopeful, but after the meeting, Brett's father was scared to death and wouldn't really talk about anything.
So here we see Jen with the mysterious briefcase. She opens it. She looks nervous. Brett gets to their house. Once again, the door is open. Once again, it's much, much earlier. So he tries to call her, can't reach her. And she is in the car with this guy. I think this is the first time we actually see his face, right?
Yeah. I
Yes.
think so. Yep.
So he opens the case. He basically says, you know, we have a problem. I think that that cop has outlived his usefulness. And he says, but I really liked what you did with him. Like, you know, you owned him. And he's like, yeah, you can only like scare someone so far. And I think we've passed that point. You know, I want to take him out. And he says, I think we can solve two birds with one stone. Allow me to handle this.
Bird phobia in this show was out of control.
Huh?
The bird phobia in this show is out of control.
The bird phobia? Explain, please.
Nothing. Never mind.
Trying to. Oh my god! Right over the head.
I don't think it was just me. Jacob didn't seem to get it either.
Hey, it went right over my helmet. Sorry.
You need to make your plume bigger, obviously.
Obviously.
So this episode, I mean, we've suspected it before, but this is the episode where we definitely know for certain that Chad owes these guys something. So he basically calls, he's been looking for his sister, and I think from what I get from the conversation, they ask, is anything missing? And he realizes that something isn't missing, but there's something there that shouldn't be. And so he hits play, and he sees what she saw, except it continues with, you have to get them the briefcase. Do whatever they say. And he immediately calls Andrea and says, this is gonna be kind of weird, but like... And she says that she's tracking Chad because he's been acting weird, and he's at an ATM somewhere. And, of course, Brett remembers that this is where he gets shot. And he says, you have to get to him, I think he's in danger. And she says, oh, hey, your sister's here. What?
Wow,
Jen's
crazy.
here. And Angela says, oh, she's got a gun. So, she tries to stop her from shooting Chad. This is the first time that Chad actually... Brett pulls a gun on him repeatedly, and he never looks scared. He never believes that Brett will shoot him. As much as he hates Brett, as much as he thinks that he's wronged him, he never believes that he will actually shoot him. He believes that Jen will shoot him.
Yeah.
Like, he is terrified. And so they try and talk her out of it. She says, like, she keeps saying, they made me do this, like, I have to. And then she says, I'm sorry. She drops the gun and she tries to, like, run away. And a car just barrels into her.
Yeah, one of the black cars from the club.
Yes, one of the only evil people drive these vehicles.
Yes.
In movies.
The timing on this is honestly very slapstick. I thought it was actually kind of funny.
Oh, I laughed my ass off.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume you do not just take an unknown quantity and say, here's a gun, go commit murder, and then just assume they're going to do it. I mean, that seems like a Dr. Evil kind of plan right there.
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense that they would have someone watching her to make sure she actually followed through.
Oh no, it absolutely makes sense. I just laughed at
it.
It was funny watching her bounce off.
It shows her she gets out of that same car.
Yeah. And she's got to know she's going to be killed for not doing it. She honestly has to know that her family is going to be killed, and yet she won't kill an innocent man even to save them. She just can't. So he gets there just in time to find out from Rita that Jen has died.
Although you say that she won't do it, we've seen her do it in other timelines repeatedly. So it's more so that, like, the both of them together are able to talk her down. When it's just Chad, she'll ice him.
Well, Chad never gets a chance to talk her down.
True.
She just pulls the trigger. Like, the minute anybody gets a chance to talk to her at all, and they don't even do much other than, you don't want to do this, put the gun down. Like,
then again, Chad is also not great at de-escalation.
Yeah. There is that.
She's also got a gun pointed at her too.
Well, the other thing is that he looks afraid. Like, she has time in this one to look at his face and realize he's scared. Whereas he does not initially look afraid. He just starts to, like, go for he looks confused, and then he goes for his gun.
Yeah.
And she shoots him because he's going for his gun. As much as anything. When she has a few minutes to, like, process, see that he's afraid, not have a gun, like, being pulled on her. Like, basically, as soon as anyone gives her time to think, she can't do it. So his mother comes wailing through the hallways, being escorted by 2 police officers. He wants to go to her, and Rita basically says, no, you gotta go. And this, I think, is one of the things that we've seen about Brett over and over and over again. Like, He was there for Rita when she found out about Chad dying, even though it meant he might get caught. He says, I'm not going anywhere. In this case, his mother is wailing over the loss of her daughter, and he wants to go to her, but he doesn't. He turns around and he leaves.
Yep.
So, all of these messages we keep getting about, family is important. You got to be there for your family. He's just not.
He also just doesn't like his mom.
Well, there's liking someone and there's loving them.
Yeah.
So, this is sort of like with the Angela thing. He tried calling Angela, it didn't work, so he shows up at her house. This time he shows up at Jen's house early in the morning and he just gives her a big hug. He's like, I'm so happy you're alive. And he says, like, you got to talk to me. I know about these guys. I know they're hassling you. I know about the picture. You got to tell me what's going on. And so they go out on the front lawn. They start talking. She's basically goes back to the, like, I haven't seen you in 6 months. Like, why should I trust you now? And we do, over bits and pieces, find out that these guys showed up. They demanded information. She gave him almost everything.
But not the thing they actually wanted.
Right. He comes out and says, hey, you should go check on the kids. I'm going to hang out here. Because I can stand up to the guy I know isn't gonna shoot me.
He just doesn't know that he got thrown through a trophy case earlier.
True.
And this is where he reveals that the thugs are the ones who actually left those bruises on her arm.
Bruised her up. And so now we know that, the husband is not an abusive asshole. He's just a very stressed, afraid asshole.
Actor.
I don't think he is, though. I mean, the whole point is he's supposed to be a red herring for a while.
That's overly harsh, I admit.
But if you go back and you think about it, you can realize that he really just seems angry and terrified.
Well, yeah, like if you go back and like say the first episode, for example, I think the first time we ever see him on screen is when Brett calls Jennifer back after the 6 missed calls, and we see her, she's trying to walk away from him, and he's hovering over her, and it's very creepy, and it looks like he's, an abusive husband that is watching her every move. But in reality, he assumes it's, the shadow henchman dude's calling, and he's just trying to, he's worried and he wants to know what's going on. Like, I think it's, it's well done. And when you go back and you rewatch those first couple episodes, they're, like, good on the show. I really do enjoy this.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that once things are unraveled and all the secrets get outed, when you go back and you watch it again, you go, oh, like, there are so many conversations that take on a whole new, like, meaning.
That's what I'd hope to see in a time loop show.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at a lot of the stuff they're churning out today, and
no, I don't, because it's bad and I don't watch it.
There we go.
Good job.
If you were to go back, and I mean, I think that's why they don't do time loop shows. Oh, what was the last one? There was like a movie called Looper or something that my understanding is really sucked.
Edge of Tomorrow was after that, I think, right?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah. That's just two characters without a whole lot of really deep dialogue, though, isn't it?
I read the comic. I didn't see the movie. The comic was fine.
I was thinking about the movie, which I have not seen either, so. So, anyway, Spivak questions Randall about Jen. Gives him a card and says, Brett's wanted for murder, which, of course, Brett did not mention to them when he was at the house. So now Randall's got more things to be afraid of. They are at the bank, and he's like, there's what, like, $7,000 in here? Like, that's not a big deal. And she's like, yeah,
There might have been more
So
money.
there might have been more, like 100,000 ish. And he's like, "You spent it?" She's like, "We needed it. We were having a baby. Randall was out of work. We had to pay the mortgage."
And then, like, I find it funny that she complains that it's her father's dirty money, but then didn't really have an issue using it.
Yeah.
And I could understand if she may be like, listen, we have children, like, if you dipped into some of it, but we learn at some point, like, there is not a lot left.
Yeah, they spent almost the entire thing.
Yeah.
They've spent like 90% of it roughly.
She then gets super defensive and is like, "Well, I was entitled to this. You're mad because you didn't get your cut." And he's like, "No, I'm mad because now people want to kill you because you stole his money from them." And she gets more defensive and she's like, "Well, you know, I'm the one who cleaned up. I'm the one who cleaned up the mess. I'm the one that made the funeral arrangements." And he's like, "I was undercover at the time. Like, I was gonna die if I broke cover." And she basically is like, "Yeah, I don't care." So they have another one of those fights that Eraser doesn't like. I think it is much more obvious.
I really don't have an issue with this argument.
Well, I think it is much more obvious in this case that she is attempting to distract him from the actual issue. Which I think was what was going on in the first argument. Is that she's like letting go a whole bunch of grief at him in an attempt to distract him from finding out what she's been doing. Or think too hard about what she's been doing.
Yeah.
Because at that point in time, he still thinks that these guys are completely after him and nothing else. And she's trying to like keep him on that track and not think too much about the fact that they're actually after her and Randall. And I think that becomes much clearer with this fight. I don't think it's as clear in the first fight because we don't know what's going on at that point.
Yeah.
But she does, when he starts problem solving, she does then actually like go from crocodile tears to actual tears. And she's like, "Could you stop being a cop for a minute and just be my brother?" And he says, like, "I never stopped being your brother," you know. He's basically trying to say, like, I just process things differently. And we have yet a little more time with our homicide detectives. And I think this is where we have the, like, really intense conversation about the fact that Spivak hated Brett's dad.
Yeah. This is where it's much more pointed.
And that Nick was his partner, and he thinks that Brett's dad corrupted Nick. That he was a corrupt cop, and that if it hadn't been for Nick's dependence on him and, you know, friendship with him, that he wouldn't have gone bad.
Well, one of the things I like is that, you know, Choi kind of asks him, like, you know, what's your issue? Like, why do you have such an issue with him? It seems like you have, like, a personal vendetta.
Yeah.
And Spivak kind of tries to frame it in a way as if, like, no, everyone on the force knew he was a dirty cop.
Yeah, everyone being Spivak's head, I think.
No, but yeah, but he tries to frame it as if it was like this well-known thing that everyone on the force knew at the time, and I don't know about that.
Well, and the funny thing is that from what we know, I mean, we know that Buck was a cop and is corrupt. We know that his partner was a cop and is corrupt. So it may also be that at that point in time, there was so much corruption that everyone just took it for granted that it was more of a gradient scale than anything else.
Which is what Choi says, essentially.
Which would very much if Spivak thought that he and Nick were the only, like, clean cops in the place and that Hopper's dad, or Hopper Sr., corrupted his partner and left him alone, then, yeah, there's definitely some real, like, generational anger there.
Yeah.
So they get back to the house. Company has already shown up. They've already got Randall. The kids are in the house but are safe so far. We see a couple of guys we've never seen before. Including the one that Brett realizes is the one that shot Rita in his first run through. He for once is not Brett and does not completely ruin this whole thing by shooting the guy for no particular reason.
He was really thinking about it too.
Yeah, you could tell, but, like, for once resists his, like, hey, I'm gonna shoot you for something you didn't actually do in this rotation and get my whole family killed in the process. So he holds it together. Jen gets the briefcase, turns it over. This is where we see that this guy is the same one that shot Rita. Passes it into the car. He says, are we good? He says, yeah, we're good. They drive off. Everybody leaves. He notes this guy's car. She hugs her family. She hugs Brett. He hugs the kids. And the next morning, we have another one of those shifts, and she says, I woke up. Yeah, I feel different. And she's like, I think I'm going to call Brett and tell him everything. And he's like, but you're the one always saying we can't trust him. And she's like, yeah, he's still my brother. I think I'm going to call him. These two have a better morning. We have this kind of back and forth between the two couples. And then they meet. She tells him the whole thing, and she says, it's kind of weird. Like, these guys don't seem like they need money, so why are they so mad about the money? And he said, I thought the same thing. So they get the briefcase. He realizes that the lining on the top and the bottom are different. Pulls the lining out and finds a file, and it is an autopsy report for Isabella, who it turns out was pregnant. And they like, she was so pregnant, they had to do a separate autopsy on the baby. So he says, here's that phone number, which I have memorized because I've now called it through several rotations. Here are their names. Call them. Give them the briefcase. Everything will be fine, in this rotation at least. And then they realize that their father's handwriting is on this report. And we know who Garza is. And we know who Detweiler is, but now we have Tobias Booth. And so we look him up, and we find out that he, in fact, is the new Garza, I guess.
In a stunning twist, Booth is the politician, not the assassin this time.
And Brett recognizes his voice and realizes that he now knows who, like, the big bad is. And that's the end of the episode. How are we with this episode? With this,
I like it better than the last one.
You like the ending better or the whole episode?
I'm still the whole I feel different thing still kind of bugs me.
In what sense?
How do I describe this? It seems like a video game upgrade and not a mechanic of how the time loop works, because they have not gotten into how exactly it happens yet.
Well, I mean, I would agree with you if it weren't for the fact that we know that there are some overlaps in other areas. You know, like with the beard and the
Well, that's all connected to Hopper. If you mean the other guy, then that hasn't been explained yet either. Hopper just kind of dropped it.
No. I mean, we know that his wounds carry over. We know that the battery carries over. Like, I would agree with you if it weren't for the fact that there are these other things that cycle with him. Like, that his changes are somehow affecting the timeline itself.
So why didn't Chad trusting him with the murder book carry over?
What do you mean? In what sense?
So at the end of that, episode of the hostage situation, where Hopper eventually gets caught, and Chad is like, "By the way, just in case you're right, the murder book's in the front seat of my car." Why doesn't that moment of like trusting each other carry over, and Chad is less antagonistic to Hopper now?
I think he is. I think he is significantly less antagonistic. I mean, they don't have a whole lot of interactions for these couple episodes. But he is much calmer going forward. Yeah, there's also probably the fact that, giving Hopper the murder book gets him shot 3 times in a row. So that might undo that shift. The other thing is, I'm not sure he ever really believes Hopper. He says, if you're right, it's in the front seat of my car, but he probably thinks he's just fucking with him.
Okay, in that case, when Chad is getting shot to death several times by Hopper's sister, why is the next time he not immediately on guard after being murdered by her?
I mean, I'm tempted to say it's because what everyone says is, I feel different, and I don't think Chad feels much of it.
That's not a good excuse. If 3 words are the central mechanic of the time loop, then we have failed. I get that it makes sense to the audience, but Chad doesn't know that.
True.
Also, we have Rita being convinced that Hopper committed the murder of Garza. Why does that not make her less trusting of him going forward?
What do you mean with it? She's convinced of the...
So, when Rita talks to Garza's wife in the bathroom...
I don't think she's convinced he did it.
Well, she calls him telling him to turn himself in.
She's convinced he should turn himself in instead of running, but I don't think she is convinced he did it. I think that makes her waver. But that was kind of my point, was that she, never at any point is like, yeah, he's totally guilty. And the 2 people that have had these shifts, it's not someone dying that makes the shift. It's Brett saving someone that makes the shift.
Something good happens, then it shifts.
Why do good things make it shift and not bad things, then?
I mean, why does any of it happen?
Because the power of positivity, man.
That's my point.
Positivity, man.
The power of fucking positivity.
But anyway, I mean, your original thing was, why does Chad not carry over? And I think Chad does...
No, my original thing was, I don't get this mechanic of changing the time loop and why it happens in these uniquely positive situations.
I think the Chad thing does carry over, and I would not call that a positive situation. And again, I would agree with you had they not already pre-established that other things do carry over. If he woke up and his wounds were always healed, or the phone battery didn't die, I would say, yeah, it's really kind of screwed up that it's only this thing.
Okay, in that case, Battle's decision to trust Hopper carried over, but not her dying, not any of her injuries, obviously, because she gets shot to death earlier. If now that's carrying over for Battle, if she gets injured in the future, is that going to carry over too?
She doesn't get injured, so we don't know. But I don't know why it would, because Rita gets shot repeatedly. And Chad gets shot repeatedly.
Yeah. So Hopper obviously remembers things from the loop. His injuries carry over. Now other characters are remembering, or not remembering things, but they're changing from loop to loop. But their injuries don't carry over.
I think it has to be because he seems to be the catalyst for the loop. And I think it has to be like Chad doesn't get shot by Brett. Like he is not there for that interaction, and it's I don't think it's that it's positive things. I think it's that it's things he interacts with in a very intense way. You know, like when you drop a rock in water, the rock makes the splash, but then there are ripples that work themselves outward. I think that if the rock is big enough, the rock being Brett, that those ripples can hit other people.
Okay, but Brett has killed several people over the course of this show, and obviously they come back and don't stay dead.
But they don't. I mean, none of these people are like, "Hey, yeah, I remember that I had this conversation with Brett." It's just this very faint brush of there's something.
Well, your argument for why things were carrying over was related to his injuries staying the same.
No. I'm saying that things that he interacts with do, and the closer they are, the more intensely they stay the same. So him getting shot stuck with him for like a very long time, but not as long as it should have if he'd been actually shot.
Hanayama-san says, you need to be in Brett's sphere for his powers to work. His gravitational pull of being a dick needs to hit you.
Oh, man.
Or maybe he needs to not be a dick to activate his powers. Because that is the one thing those three incidents have in common. He is suddenly not a dick for a split second. But anyway, the phone is with him all the time, but obviously not part of him. So it takes much, much longer for it to start dying than it should have.
Oh, hey, that's a good point. Does his ammo, not replenish between loops? Because his gun's with him pretty much all the time. If he expends a bullet in his gun, does it not come back next loop? Because he has that with him all the time.
That's a good question. His money replenishes. But money is probably not a thing that is personal to him. That's a good question. I don't know. If there had been more seasons, I would have been really interested to see if they went there. I also kept waiting for Rita's phone to start dying too. But see, that's the interesting thing is
he just keeps taking Rita's cash every morning.
I mean, it would have been funny if, in episode 5, when he takes Chad hostage, he's like, by the way, it was never loaded. It would have been pretty funny if the reason it was never loaded was because he ran out of bullets like 5 loops ago.
That would have been a genuinely very good twist.
I guess I would say that bullets and money are not tremendously personal to him, because that was my theory about the phones, that the reason his phone battery died and hers never seems to is that it's her phone. And I can't remember if in 2006 people had this utter obsession and leash tie to their cell phones like they do now. But later on, there are several episodes where he ends up taking out large amounts of money, and it's always there again the next day. And the only thing I could think of was money isn't really personal to a person.
Yeah.
So
Also, Brett's powers may drain the battery faster.
That makes sense to me. I think that's canon.
Yeah.
all right. On that note, I will do want to make sure we are done by 9:30. Anyone have any quick uh afterthoughts in general?
Please hire an editor. Bolt your camera to a tripod, a
Yeah,
really heavy tripod, and don't let them move it around too much.
yeah.
Does
I
anyone have
really,
Does anyone have any thoughts on the story?
I mean, I do like where the story's going. You know, whatever. I
But
like
I
where the story.
really want to bitch about the shaky
I'm trying really. It was so bad. No, it pisses me off because the last couple episodes really like steered clear of it, and then this week hit you in the face like a fucking brick with it. It's disappointing. And like I said, the story is moving. I like where things are going, but I really don't like the whole like magical. I feel different. Zippity doo dah fucking mechanic. I think it's silly. There's no like I remember complaining earlier and saying that I think it was going to be like one of those like convenient things where the writers pick and choose like when it happens and disregard like other times where it should probably happen and just doesn't. And I don't know. I think in the situation with Eddie, I feel like that one was at least more earned. I don't know. I just this one with his sister kind of felt like it just happened to move the plot along. I maybe just because it's because I'm not a huge fan of the mechanic, but I don't know. I wasn't a fan of it. It feels convenient to me.
Hmm.
So you think this episode was just to move the plot along?
I mean, not like I do like I don't mind either episode.
It
I
resolves the
just
sister
I just
codependent subplot.
yeah, I'm just not a fan of the whole like wake up and I feel different thing because like I said, I feel like there's probably other instances in the show where like a big enough impact probably happened and we don't really get that. Like, it should happen in other situations and it just simply doesn't. It feels like the writers are kind of picking and choosing when characters decide to just wake up and, spit out, oh, I feel different. I don't know. I'm just
I
not
don't
a fan.
I
And
don't know. I don't
one other thing too.
I think all of the really intense emotional moments have had a change. Some of them have been more like Chad didn't wake up and say, "Hey, I feel different." Um Mainly because he has no one to have that conversation with. Um
Another thing, after they gave the file to those people, and then the day started over, and she feels different. Those guys didn't come looking for the file that day.
no, they did. That's why he said, "Here's a phone number. Call these people. Just give them the briefcase
Oh,
immediately."
okay, okay. Sorry, forgot about that.
They didn't have to come looking for it because she was proactive,
Ah, got it.
which meant no kidnapping, no traumatized children. Um but all right, well, with 5 minutes to spare, Jacob, where are you going to be this week?
Tomorrow night I'll be on Roman of the Empire's channel, and we'll be talking our favorite sci-fi military movies. Then on my show on Tuesday, We'll be talking the Two Towers,
Sweet.
and then I'll be here next week.
All right. Racer, you are possibly leaving us this week, is that, or at least you will be chat bound, is my understanding.
Yeah, my work schedule's getting tossed around, so it is what it.
Boo.
We will
Yeah,
miss you.
Yeah,
I'll be in the chat and
shoot.
actually Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern over on B-roll stage. Our boy Adam has decided to try gaming, and he's been playing LA Noir. So I've
Oh, fun.
amazing game, but yeah, I'm just kind of hanging out with him and laughing at him because he's a gamer. He's not a good gamer, but he's a gamer. So yeah, it's been funny. He's slowly getting better, but it's like trying to teach your grandpa how to play PlayStation. It's but yeah, like I said, Monday nights come hang out. It's funny, and I'm gonna drop the Rumble link for them as well because YouTube has been giving them a hard time lately.
That's kind of interesting because Rumble has been giving everyone else I know a hard time.
Well, their last show, they got their stream taken down, and then for a copyright claim, and then YouTube couldn't tell them like who made the copyright claim.
Oh, you're talking
So
about as far as paperwork stuff. Rumble has been like skipping and like ending streams on a lot of people. That's what I was.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just plain old not been working. Gadfly, yes, I'm afraid we are just wrapping up. Sorry you missed it. I hope you will watch the rewatch if you get a chance. Yeah, Ben, I was going to ask if he was better than Gary or if he was in Gary's range. Gary is kind of infamous for his terrible video game capabilities. But I shouldn't throw stones because this is why I don't game online. So, um, Kilo, anything you want to plug?
Maybe. So Goat had
Ooh.
a poll up I saw earlier looking at a couple of indie RPGs for Slice and Dice. Goat, where can they find that if people want to vote in it?
Which are you? I don't know
The
what you're
one that had
talking.
10 candles in it.
Oh, yes. So, one of the friendly local gaming stores is very near me. Is well near. I mean, near being like 2 hours away. Is very big on indie games, and I was kind of perusing their selection and found a whole bunch that I'm kind of interested in, and so I was thinking about doing some reviews. And on both Facebook and Twitter, where you can find me under the Eclectic Goat, you will find the list of the particular 4 I'm looking at for October, and then I'll have 4 more for November and 4 more for December, and then maybe I'll take another 2-hour drive.
Yeah, you should absolutely go check that out, chat, and vote. If it does end up being 10 candles, I might be able to be talked into appearing on that because I love that game and I have run it many times and I think it's excellent.
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask if I could like mooch your copy potentially,
You
because
can, probably.
$28 for a 60-page book is a bit steep
Wait,
for me.
really? It
Yeah.
was way cheaper when I got it, huh?
Oh well, you got real lucky because it is $28 for a for a very small book. Um, I was like, man, this game better be as good as I think it's gonna be.
I could have sworn mine was 20.
Maybe you got it on sale.
Huh.
Well, the other thing is that I don't know. Did you get a PDF or did you get a?
Physical.
You did get a physical copy, huh? Well, you got lucky then. Maybe it's gotten really popular.
Where's it? Anyway,
So yeah, he not only wants you to go vote, he's trying to like sway your vote to 10 candles.
sure am.
All right. So I am the Eclectic Goat, obviously. I am on Discord, Facebook, and Twitter under the same name. I do editing for independent authors and role-playing games. I'm working on a couple right now that I'm really excited about, but are still kind of under wraps. I will let you know when I can give you more details. I have written and recorded the script for my 9 movies that wanted to be Battle Royale video. I had a great deal of fun watching a whole bunch of really terrible horror movies. I am thinking of following that up when it's done with the 5 worst movies that Clancy Brown has ever been in, because I've lately been on a terrible movies that Clancy Brown is in. I'm also very tempted to, for the first time ever, do like a hate watch video, comparing John Wick 1 and John Wick 4, because I found John Wick 4 to be so offensively terrible that I'm very tempted to actually get into that a little bit.
Fascinating
Otherwise,
franchise.
huh?
Fascinating franchise.
Oh, the first one was, I mean, it was at least entertaining, and the fourth one is just it's a comic book. It's just
See, I have been vaguely keeping track of that and all the spin-offs they've been doing, and they built the franchise so heavily on the back of Keanu Reeves,
yeah.
and that not only did that wear out, but when they tried to branch into other things, it's been doing very badly. It's just very interesting.
I really liked the first television show. I have not watched
There's a
Ballerina.
TV show? I was thinking Ballerina. I didn't even know there was a TV show.
Yeah, they did one.
Kind of like the origin story of the
Winston.
Winston. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Was
oh,
it
the
called
guy.
the Continental or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it
That
was.
wasn't bad. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was quite
Banging
good.
soundtrack too.
It starts off a little bit slow, and you kind of go, I don't like where this is going, and then you really see, like, the actor who plays the young Winston, like, got his mannerisms and everything by the time that that show was done. I thought it was Hanayama. Everyone can be wrong sometimes, you know. It's okay.
It was Dick. That's different. Also,
Yeah,
chat, if you have not done it, go see Weapons. Weapons is really good.
that was so bizarre. Yeah, that movie was crazy.
Yep.
I think
Yep.
my only
It has
complaint
kids
is
doing the Naruto run.
Yeah.
I think my only complaint is that one of the characters who should have died didn't die. I like never talk in movie theaters, and like that whole first chunk, I was just going, God, I fucking hate this woman.
I
I was like, starting off with a character I despise is not a great way to start this movie. But then they pulled it. Then they pulled it through. They made it work. So, yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, people should go see that. If you like horror movies at all, it's very unusual. Somebody has offended offended the
Sorry,
the anime
Hanayama.
the
It's Boruto's dad running. You're right. We'll change it. Sorry.
the anime lord is angry. All right. So I do hope to have the Battle Royale video up soon. I have a couple of very big deadlines that have to be done by Friday. And then for several days after that, I'm going to just buckle down and just work on the video. So hopefully, I mean, I kind of want to say hopefully next week, but then I'm afraid I'm going to jinx myself. So I'm going to say hopefully by the end of the month. Anything else anyone needs to add?
Nope.
All right. Thank you all very much for coming, panel and chat. You have all been wonderful. And somebody go through and count how many times Hanayama said dick, because I want to know how much Hanayama likes dick. Everyone have a great night and happy headbutting.
Bye.